a hot bite now, don't say it's bad.
What's that?
It's a hot bite now, don't say it's bad.
You told me yesterday.
I don't know if Mark Ranger's airbusing or dolphin touring.
I was today.
Oh, did you? Nice.
I'm here.
I'm just saying, you never know with Mark.
Montego Bay and back.
Oh, geez.
Kevin requested a 30-minute meeting today. I was gonna spend 30 minutes on the financial statement.
We have Christy Kennard here.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to go.
She's like,
I need to call my computer.
I don't think Brad is gonna be here. I think he's getting his other eye done.
Yes. Yeah, go.
A bit of an overshare, but you know, we're all friends.
I missed the taking. I missed it.
Need one more.
It was a comforting sentence. I missed it.
You just couldn't take it.
Fell asleep in the parking lot.
Yeah. Did you have a hose going from the tailpipe into the car? Just couldn't take it anymore. Gotta wear a mat today.
Practicing for a comedy hour.
Bro, man. There's Brad. Hey, Kevin, a reminder, I'll be zooming the meeting. I'll do one more. Still groggy from cataract surgery. He should just come in.
We're both, there's no difference with the rest
That's
of
a perfect time.
We just fit in with the rest of us.
Here comes number 4.
Nope. How's it going? Rough.
Next stop, no. No, next stop.
Good new cologne.
You see that?
Yeah.
It works.
For now.
For those of us who don't know how to count, the old clocks with the hands.
Yeah.
I've heard that's a thing. Like what?
I'm surprised the kids in school, they can't read it anymore.
I shall not comment anymore.
No, definitely can't write yours.
Thank you.
There's one lady that ran the office in the flight school.
You want
Looked at that sticky note put on the desk. This came here the next day. She says, "What did you want to tell me?"
Hey.
Let's get the system over here. The average IQ of the room just went up a little bit.
See Royal for
Oh,
you.
she's
Right
good.
there.
Hey, Dr. Dave, okay.
Thank you.
I know.
Call me. Stay over here. Yes, that's on Friday. There goes my. Yes.
Everyone still like the 5 PM meeting times?
Say
You
that.
still like the 5 PM meeting times?
Yeah.
Just curious.
You?
Yeah. I do.
Okay. Most important people.
Yes.
Back further. Back further.
He wasn't talking
Water. Well, it'll rain.
Set your heart rate again.
Or it's the. Or cheaper.
I made it today. Went to surgery this morning. It was gonna be.
Yeah, you don't mind.
I'm at 50%.
You get some messages from me.
I thought he was saying there. That's a brown nose, man. Did you have the card out today? Is that not you?
No. We had to work.
It's preposterous.
Back to in now several weeks, because every time they go flying, the winds are too high, storms are there.
Someone's got that, looks like a brand new Cardinal down there. That bird, beautiful. I've always liked those airplanes. Who is that, Justin? Is that correct?
I don't know what it belongs to, but
You're trying to sell it or something?
yeah, I think it's for sale. Very interesting.
That's the last thing I need.
I think we need an authority airplane.
I don't disagree with
I was thinking
that.
more like King Air. So
That's right.
Yeah.
That's that talk.
Since we don't have a restaurant, you have to be able to get to one.
Well, let's let Chrissy get through the financials today. May change her
You
tune.
might break the sunset.
Sound coming?
Yeah. As far as I know.
Speaking of sunshine.
Yeah. I am. Hi.
Hello, Ed.
Well,
Yes.
Just make it.
We're all waiting
Oh,
for
that's
you.
fine.
were you?
Got that clock that looks like it's about to launch at 5 o'clock. That's good.
So we should go.
We were actually talking about doing all time zones.
What else is it?
I'm down for it.
Probably, yeah. It's listening close right now.
Wooden shot. The trains derailed today.
You see, you could hear blimp spying on us yesterday.
Oh, for the Daytona.
They didn't shoot it down, did they? They didn't shoot it down, did they?
All right, I think we got what we got. Call the meeting to order. If we stand for pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, we have a roll call, please.
Okay, Mr. Craig,
Present.
Mr. Mount,
Here.
Mr. Molitor,
Here.
Ms. Curry, Mr. Whitmore,
Here.
Mr. Voss.
Here.
Mr. Granger, Mr. Darty,
Present.
Mr. Burt.
Here.
All right, thank you. We have 4 in person, 1 virtual. That means we do have a quorum, so all votes will count. Kevin, the agenda, please.
No changes, sir.
No changes to the agenda. Does any board member have any questions about the agenda? As being stated, the motion to approve the agenda as presented. So moved by Mr. Voss, seconded by Mr. Molitor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion passes 4-0. Approval of the meeting minutes. Hopefully you got a chance to look at those from January. Did anybody have any questions concerning the minutes? The motion to approve the January 19th, 2023 minutes as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Molitor. Second by Mr. Voss. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none. Motion passes 4-0. Kevin.
All right, first up for board consideration, we have a grant offer from the zone board for $460,000 for the design and permitting of the Challenger Avenue Extension Project here at Space Coast. There is no local match for this, so this covers 100% of the engineering effort. We've talked about this before. The project is in support of the Space Coast Innovation Park. So it basically allows access from phase 1 to phase 2, and then it's part of the multi-phase access making its way out to 407 to 95, kind of later on down the road. Just some quick grant highlights here. It's a 3-year reimbursable grant. It has 4 dedicated milestones. They're written around the 30, 60, 90, 100% engineering task. There are some clawback mechanisms within it. If we don't begin construction within 36 months, we can be subject to repayment. There is some language in there that allows us to go back and get additional time, but we're recommending approval. And thank you to Don for kind of helping us through this, being our project champion.
Motion to approve the grant as presented. Moved by Mr. Voss, second by Mr. Molitor. Any discussion, questions?
Just one question.
Yes.
You're highly confident that 36 months is not going to be an issue.
So they gave us a couple outs where we can go back and get it extended. And the way they wrote the grant, the first layer of asphalt has to be laid down that qualifies and quantifies as construction. So I think it's a real good project and there's no local match, so that's very helpful to us.
I guess the only question I had was just the way it was written. It's I mean, I read it a few times and I understand it, but I think, and maybe not just for this one, but in general, it would probably be, instead of presenting the numbers just through the contract, a quick snapshot, so that the board can see the numbers as they lay out over time, you know, and some sort of, and when there is a match with that, you know, a local match from us, what that ROI is, so that we can kind of see how it projects over time, just a basic financial. I think it would just help, you know, to kind of visualize it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I sat there writing the numbers down, and I know we talked about it, but you know, I don't remember it. And I want to make sure I understand exactly where all those numbers are. I think you have a good understanding. You probably.
Yeah, this was probably one of the more complicated ones that we do. There was a lot of discussion at the zone board. They weren't, they were a little hesitant on a speculative project, so that's why you saw some of the clawbacks in there. But
Yeah, I understand.
And I get it,
And then
absolutely.
even in the, you know, like the beginning of the project description, there talks about a match from us for 50%, which gets confusing because that has nothing to do with what
That's the
this grant is
construction.
about, right?
Correct.
So I think that's where I think seeing the numbers.
Okay. Fair enough.
And this is just the engineering?
Yes,
part, the preliminary engineering. Who's the engineer? Have we selected them?
Avcon.
And do we have a budget on the rest of the money that we're going to be spending on this project to get that road in place before?
So we have we're not gonna know an exact number until we get at least 30%. We'll have a better idea, because as of right now, we still don't know exactly what we're designing. It's just conceptual at this point. As the development moves forward, we know what sort of roadway we're gonna need to design. So, but we do have a basic construction grant number that we've submitted to Space Florida on their call for projects, which was $5 million.
5 million, will be close.
It really depends on,
Yeah.
on
And it depends on what we're gonna actually construct. So we'll know more here soon.
Bicycle path would be a little cheaper.
It may be, yeah, maybe.
Electric bike. That is true.
Any other
I can't do that.
comments or discussion? Adam, anything to add from legal perspective?
No, sir.
All comfortable there?
We looked at it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously we wanted to be clear on the clawback provisions and, understand what our obligations were and what the milestones we need to meet. So yeah, there's always some risk involved.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Brad, do you have anything?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that being said, we'll call the question. All in favor of the North Brevard Development District Economic Incentive Grant Agreement, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
No, that's it. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
Next up, we have the invoice approval adjustment.
Right. I'm here today. Justin Hotman, Deputy Director, Operations and Maintenance. First up, Arthur Airport. The AWAS replacement design bidding and construction services for Avcon tab number 9 was $2,330. And the Arthur master plan update for Recondo, request number 2 was $2,947.14. For Space Coast, for the tower design and bidding, Avcon tab number 9 was $167,768.58. For Recondo on the master plan update, request number 2, $4,049.83. For Michael Baker International on the BAC Texan and Apron project, it's $33,139.33. For the other portion of the same project, for Michael Baker, request number 13, $39,650.45. At Maryland Airport, the AWAS for Avcon tab number 9, $2,330. For the master plan update for Recondo, $3,638.39. And for Michael Baker International, the T-Hager development, the EA for the T-Hager development is $27,976.67.
Any questions on the invoices that were presented? Hearing none, have a motion to approve the invoices presented by Mr. Hopper.
I'll move.
Mr. Muller, second by Mr. Voss. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Justin. Continue.
Project update.
Dramatic pause.
Legacy projects, the VAC apron, we're wrapping up paperwork to close it out. Our project is substantially complete. The punch list items are done. They just pulled the last equipment off last Tuesday or Wednesday. So that, we're working through the paperwork on that right now. Corporate hangar at Merritt Island. So again, site permit conditionally approved. Buildings arrived, the door came. Tuesday. It's all running together now. Tuesday, the door showed up. It's been unloaded, sitting there, and we just got the contract signed by C&D Construction about 2 hours ago. So we'll be executing the contract. Yeah, no good. So we'll get started on that. It's been a chore, to say the least. No real changes on the EA for T area development. There was some updated,
Yeah, they have part of the task they've submitted to the FAA for review. The FAA environmental person, which they're inundated with bill money requests and everything else. So it's good. That
gonna be a
project's
while.
lagging.
It's gonna take some time. The runway 927, I don't have a slide on it, the runway 927 project, the FAA opted to not fund the additional construction work for the drainage. They asked us to put that in their project and move on with it. So they were going through the paperwork right now to close the grant for runway 927 rehab here at Space Coast. The Nancy project in Merritt Island is finally getting close to being done.
It looks good.
Yeah, it actually looks pretty nice. The sod's been put down, 90% of it. There's temporary fence they're gonna be pulling next week and putting the permanent fence up. The lift station's installed. There is some, little bit of asphalt work, a little bit of concrete work on the north entrance. That'll be done first and second week of March. And then they'll remove the old septic tanks right after that, and the project will be done. New projects, the AWASs, we're working on a contract right now for the low bidder. Applies to both Arthur Dunn and Merritt Island. The equipment will have to be ordered right now. I think it's 7 to 8 months lead time on equipment. I was just at CFAS today, which is a regional meeting with other airports, and everybody that has an AWAS project is going through the same thing, waiting on parts. So it's going to take some time before we get parts for the AWAS. Towers moving along. We just had the 60% design review meeting last week. We're still hopeful for bill funding. We'll see here hopefully soon. Field farm, we're still working with FDOT on funding construction. That probably won't happen this year. It'll probably have to go into next year.
Back to the tower, I heard today that they're going to start making funding announcements next month. So we'll see. I know there's a lot of interest at the headquarters level for this tower. So
real quick on operations. It was a busy month last month at Merritt Island, but Arthur Dunn averaged 60 ops a day, Titusville or Space Coast 168, and Merritt Island 363 operations a day. So they've been busy. Yeah, so it's been good. Well, good for numbers. The noise complaints, we really haven't. We've gotten probably a half a dozen complaints from the same person. So. That's
they're pretty nasty.
Yeah, it's not pleasant. So otherwise, good questions.
I know it's one person, but is there any validity to their complaint?
They live in Rockledge. They're close to River Road.
It's miles away from here.
It is. Every plane flying over them, of course, is at 100 feet, which it's not. But I've run bird tower data. I mean, they do get an occasional airplane every couple hours directly, within 3 or 4 houses of them. They're all at 1,200 feet. There's not a whole lot that we can do. I did have one guy out in West Rockledge, right up 95 area, and he was complaining about the folks that fly, the students that fly over Lake Washington. And there's not much we can do about that. But the guy on River Road he's just very upset.
It's legitimate airspace, right?
Exactly.
It is, but that's not a valid answer to anybody.
We can't control air traffic patterns. Once they're off the ground, we have no ability to control them, and the FAA won't allow us.
No, but I mean, as long, I think Don's point is that's legal.
Yeah,
For anybody,
yeah,
whether they're in a pattern or not,
they're not doing anything wrong.
Right.
It's just,
But the tone of the emails are pretty gnarly. So stop communicating with them.
Have they been threatening?
we've had threatening phone calls
Yeah.
from him.
Police.
And,
I don't know if it's to that level, but I don't know. It's just, I don't know why people have to be like that, but I guess that's the world nowadays.
the signs will be up on the cell phone number on it shortly. Wouldn't be the first.
Well, yeah,
time.
we've had that happen before.
Yeah. We're fine.
Your guys did a good job on the canopy over there.
We're gonna do another one in Maryland, get a new tank down there and we'll do another one after that as well.
You did good.
Did I miss the hot dogs? and-
Oh, that is tomorrow.
It's tomorrow,
The
yeah.
Gym appreciation is tomorrow from 4 to 6.
Okay.
At
Here,
Here,
at the
yeah.
fire station.
the Arthur Dunn one, I thought was pretty well.
Yeah, it was, the weather was horrible, but we still had a decent turnout.
What all have you done to get notice out there?
Emails, for the emails we have on file, we put signs up at the entrances.
I got an email. Can you know? You're not a tenant. Is the board excluded?
You're not a tenant.
You're not a tenant.
You're a landtenant.
Yes, I've got it
Well,
twice.
just put the burgers from 2 to 4.
You're cooking that evening.
So we didn't get emails.
Okay, well, sort through that.
We always asking for beer, but last time, come on. Should include me.
Yeah, whatever you're burning, that's your.
All right, Adam?
Sure, had a, call it a productive phone call, but with two attorneys from Wells Fargo, in-house counsel for Wells Fargo on this issue, which was escalated as a result of our letter. They conducted what they claim, I guess, is a more thorough investigation, some of which I've received documentary proof of. Essentially, what they found was that the check cashing scheme to which we fell victim occurred over approximately 10-day period. So there was 100 and with that number of operations they said over a 10-day period, 142 or 162 operations over a 10-day period. No more than I think 2 checks or 3 checks out of all of those were cashed by the same person. So they had all these different people. So this was a very, according to them, a very sophisticated check cashing scheme involving dozens of people and at 30 branches, not one. They claim that they have internal records, which they call teller records, where the teller confirms for each transaction what they did, to confirm the person, to confirm that they complied, and that those records reflected that the tellers did what they were supposed to do in the instances where checks were cashed. So they check the ID of the person and they have logs to reflect those things. I asked about the 9 checks after the fraud hold was placed on our account, and if those systems were in place, how could that have happened? Because the tellers are supposed to check before they negotiate a check on an account if there's any kind of a hold. Well, there was a 1-day delay because somebody was out, so the fraud hold didn't get reported to the right person. We refunded you those 9 checks anyway. So we can understand why that causes concern, because you didn't follow your procedures here. What's to say you followed them in the other 162? I did impress upon their counsel the fact that we're not subject to privacy as a public entity, that our checks, our check numbers, our routing numbers, our information, copies of our checks are public record, that there needs to be heightened security for the public entities. And I know Wells Fargo does a lot of work for public entities. They're looking at what they might do for us. They're not obviously conceding any liability at this point, but he did mention that they are talking about from a customer standpoint, from a defense of public entity standpoint. They certainly understand our position. I did receive a secure email with their documentation. I'm going through that documentation. I don't have all of it. There are certain things that they say for security purposes they cannot provide voluntarily. That's fine. I'm not sure we don't get those things in litigation if we're in there, but at this point, I'm finishing our document review from what they gave us. Not sure it'll change much of what they said. They're looking at what they might do for us, and it's going to be strictly voluntary, at least according to their lawyer. So I'll finish my review. That's about all we're going to get from the voluntary standpoint. I'll try to figure out what they're offering us, if anything, to make this right, and I'll bring that back to the board for decision at that point. But it was about a 45-minute conversation to try to figure out what went on. So happy to answer any questions, but right now that's where that is.
We're talking about $200,000.
Correct. Correct. Right around.
And the 30 branches are all in the Miami area?
I think they were all in South Florida. I'm not sure if they were all in Miami-Dade, but they were all in South Florida. We were under the impression, and I think Christy was told initially by our account rep that it was 1 or 2 branches in South Florida, but they confirmed it was up to 30, I think. And it happened over a short, we thought it over 30 days or 25 days. It was actually over a really short period of time. And obviously what they're setting us up for there is, hey, Wells Fargo, we're a victim too. There was nothing we could have done. This was an exceptionally sophisticated scheme involving, again, maybe dozens of people. So I don't necessarily agree with that, but I will continue the investigation to bring back whatever they have to offer or not to the board and any
So
recommendation.
is there an ongoing, I guess, interstate, be a federal investigation, right? It's interstate.
So that was what he suggested. I know Christy's been in contact with at least local. I don't know if we've tried the FDIC or the FBI or any kind of a federal agency, which
They stated that they would refer it to the
Okay.
federal agency.
maybe we follow up. And if you want to give me their contact, just to make sure, because that was some of the recommendations.
Yeah, because, we've dealt with that before, and they will open a federal case, and it takes a while, but they're pretty good.
Yeah.
And they will oftentimes recoup a lot of the money.
Well, when you have a lot of people involved, I think there's a lot of people to chase down. In other words, people talk. So, I mean, I'm hoping once they get into that investigation, and it's also possible, although Wells Fargo couldn't confirm, that something like this may have already been under investigation. It seems unlikely when it's this many people and it's sophisticated, it's only gonna be us. They usually go after a number of people. That's why they only have small checks so we'll follow up on that, but yes, that was a path where I was gonna go down anyway.
Are they gonna have video of all these people?
He says they don't. I don't know what their retention policy is. We'll find that out as well. If they'll voluntarily take it, let us know. I don't know.
Within 10 days.
They will cooperate. I mean, they were clear about that if there was an investigation, whether it be state or local law enforcement or federal law enforcement, they will cooperate. Obviously they're concerned, without accepting any fault. They don't want this to happen to anybody. So.
Any other questions?
I'd like to say, Adam, I read your nice article in the BBN News, the Bar Business News. They had a nice write-up about it.
You weren't in the picture.
I wasn't there. I was working. I think I was in court. Then.
Always Bill.
They don't wait for me.
I got
Man.
time for photos.
They don't wait for me.
They didn't even say,
It was better without me. Trust me. That was perfectly fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Exactly.
Hi. All right, Christina Kennard, Deputy Director of Finance and Administration. We'll start off with the check register. Does anyone have any questions?
I just had maybe just a couple of quick questions.
Okay.
And I think it's just to make sure I remember. So like the invoices that are presented don't match the payments like the Recondo or Avcon or anything. Well, how does that work? How is that trained? Because it seems like we're making those payments for an invoice prior. You know what I'm saying?
From a prior period?
I don't know that none of these payments to any of these people match any of the invoices that are.
They may, most of these, I don't know if the way timing falls sometimes is if I receive an invoice, I may not have paid it yet, but if we're coming up on a board meeting, we'll put it on the register to get approval. So that way it doesn't delay us in receiving funds. Right. And then sometimes it will be afterwards because if I didn't receive the invoice until after the board meeting.
Okay.
So that's why it might be a little.
And refresh my memory, because I think I ask this every year. What is the payment to the Brevard County Commission? The 14.
That is for employee benefits.
Employee benefits, that's right.
So that's.
And then the only other one was the Commercial Spaceflight Federation.
That is for a membership, dues and membership.
That's kind of new. We actually didn't budget for that this year, but
Yeah,
what
I
I've found
don't
is,
remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
Just give me,
Yeah.
can you maybe give the board, like a list of what we belong to?
sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Variety of reasons that, I mean, there may be some overlap with board members and that know people in that regard. And then, you know, it gives us kind of an idea of what we're.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What does the Space Flight Federation do?
The Spaceflight Federation, they're based out of Washington, DC. They're basically a lobbyist for just about every spaceport in the US. They seem to be a really connected group. So their big function is trying to get spaceport infrastructure money. I found it to be very, very useful, but it was, as I'm kind of getting into the spaceport stuff, I'm finding that we need to be more involved as a group. So I think there's a lot of value to this function.
All right, thank you. Any other?
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the January 2023 preliminary financial statements. They are preliminary because the audit is not complete to where we might have adjusting entries from the auditors. So if we look at the balance sheet, total current assets is at 2.7 million. As of which due from other governments makes $964,988 of that amount. And then trade receivables, which would be hangar rent and the regular land leases and all that, we're at 38,134. So total assets equals 66.7 million. And if anyone has any questions, you can stop me because I'm just kind of giving an overview. All right, current liabilities, we have total current liabilities of 966,000. And as of which we have refundable deposits, that's our escrow account. So that makes up about 235,000 of that amount. And then we have total liabilities of 2.1 million. So in that position is at 64.1 compared to 63.8 at the end of 9/30/2022.
And the big checks that, like the construction lawsuit is reflected in this report.
Yes, sir. It is. If you look at notes payable under non-current liabilities, we have the $470,000.
So we've not paid that yet.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
We did. We paid it in January 12th.
Yeah, we got our lighted X's back too.
Say it again.
We got our lighted X's back too.
There we go.
What
was the condition?
They're actually decent.
They're diesel. I think they're diesel. Aren't they diesel?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the income statement. We have total operating revenue a little over 1 million. And we have it broken down by each airport as well as the Space Coast Space Station. And I can go over those details or if you would just like to review them. And let me know if you have questions. Either way. So operating expenses, we have about 58,000 at Robert Arthur Den, 113,000 at Merritt Island. Space Coast Regional is about 355,000. Space Coast Space Station is a negative 721 because we have credit for property ad valorem. And then airport G&A is about 453,000 for total consolidated operating expenses of 979,000. And then depreciation is listed for each airport and it's about 793,000. So that brings our total operating expense at 1.7. And then you can see the operating, we do have a loss right now of 729,000, but we have to remember that includes depreciation. We do have interest income, a little over 2,000, interest expense, little 1,500. And then we have capital contributions of about 1.2 million. So our change in net position is 286,000. And we are again at 64.1.
I took these numbers times 4, that would be our annual budget with roughly where
It's close.
and you feel like it's gonna be that way.
Yes, sir. Mhm. We do have a budget overview. Continue on through the documents.
Just one question. The interest that we're paying, what is that on?
The interest expense would be for the line of credit, for any fees that we've had towards the line of credit. Or if we have a bank service charge right now, we might have some small bank service charges with Truist because all of our money hasn't been moved over.
So our notes payable is the line, the use of the line of credit, is that what they use?
Yes. And moving on to the budget overview. We are at about 72.77% of our total income for the year. And then as far as our expenses go, I know the dues and membership was mentioned earlier. We did not have a good grasp on all of the subscriptions and dues that would have been submitted for this year. So we are a little bit over what was budgeted, as you can see. But we can have that looked at for this year and modify it for the budget. But overall, we're at total expenses of about 65.52%.
And that's on based on 4 months?
Yes. Does anyone have any questions?
Is there a grant revenue of 1.2 part of our 2.2, and that's the reason that we're at 72% of our income for the year, right? And the grant revenue is what,
Yes.
that's all added in, right?
Yes, sir.
Capital outlay. Is that like for the equipment?
Yes, sir. That's the Kubota and the
Trailer.
trailer and the truck. Thank you.
Hey, Chrissy, this is, we're getting someplace now.
Oh, yes, sir, we
Yeah,
are.
I think we're getting pretty close down.
Much, much better story.
Yes, definitely. All the way around.
Yeah, I understand it.
It's a lot
Just keeping us
better.
aligned.
Yeah, so it's really been a blessing to be able to be caught up and to have a system, that it's working with us.
Thanks, what you did.
Well, thank you very much.
All right. Brings us to authority members report. You have anything?
Not today.
The only thing I'll say is Kevin and I were at the Titusville annual dinner, whatever. So that led me to thinking that and realizing that we need to do not a better job. I think it's important that the board, as this entity continues to grow and in the community, that our presence is better known, which is why I asked Kevin to look into business cards in a polo shirt.
Yep.
And especially for y'all that are tenants here and stuff, if there's, whatever meetings, I mean, you wear it whenever you want, but it does bring, some sort of knowledge of, hey, I'm helping here, and they probably all know that, but there's people that might not. But having a card and being able to hand it out, I know I go to quite a bit of community stuff. People ask me what's going on. Melbourne airport folks have, they've kind of had a bit of a board turnover. They've come and asked me like, hey, I'd like to meet with you and, pick your brain about, spaceport stuff and some other items from the, kind of more from the civilian side. Than the 1.1 side. So anyway, that was why I did that. Do it with what you will. But I think it's just nice to be able to have something to show kind of forward leaning into the community a bit as we continue to go.
I've been trying to break into the community a lot more, and it's now I'm no longer the new kid up here, so it's been hard, but people are starting to recognize me now and talk to me now, so it's much happier. It's starting to be known, I guess. Better way to say that.
And other than that, I think that was about it. We have anybody signed up for
Any consultants?
anybody would like to say anything?
Speaking of that, are we a member of the chamber of commerce?
Oh, yeah, and I'm on the chamber board as well. Up here in Titusville and Cocoa Beach.
Brad, did you have anything to add?
Yes, I would like to report that after complaining the last time I zoomed in on a meeting, the TikTok clock is done and the audio is greatly improved. So thank you, Kevin, for making that happen. And it's a substantial improvement over being able to hear a lot more of the conversations.
Glad to help.
Excellent.
Can you hear the conversation pretty good, Brad?
I'm probably picking up above 90% of what's being said. That's me. I'm competing in a little bit of a noisy environment. I'm on a little laptop. So if I had a little better system, I'm sure I could hear just fine, but I'm a little compromised as I sit.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We hope you see you back here soon.
Yeah, I have missed the last two I have missed due to medical conflicts, and those are done. So hopefully I'll look forward to seeing everybody in person next week, and regret having missed these past two live.
Bring your doctor's note.
Okay.
All right, last chance, they may maybe say any other business come forward for it. Hearing none, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Justin?